factorizing quadratic expressions. So the general form is ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b and c are all real numbers, and also a cannot be 0. Otherwise it's not a quadratic, it's linear. This is known as a quadratic expression. So the way to factorize is you need to consider two numbers. So I'm gonna call them just n1 and n2. Okay, so n1 times n2 will equal to ac, and then n1 plus n2 will equal to b. Okay, so to understand this, it's best to explain with a very specific example. So we're gonna look at very simple quadratic expression. So first example is x squared minus 5x minus 6. So we're gonna be trying to find those two numbers, n1 and n2, and see how that helps us factorize this expression. So first of all, what is our AC? Well, the A is 1 and C is minus 6, so we have 1 times minus 6, which becomes minus 6, and then our B is minus 5, as you can see. So what you need to think about now is you will have two numbers that times together will give you minus 6. Okay, so how do you work it out? Well, you just think of the factors that make 6. So we have 3 and 2, or 6 and 1. Remember that because it's minus 6, one of them will have to be minus. You can't have both of them as a minuses. Okay. You need to also consider the second condition, so the fact that they also have to add up to minus 5. So n1 and n2 have to equal to minus 5. So if you have 3 and 2, to add up to minus 5, they both will have to be negative. That does not equal to minus 6 if you times them. However, if we use 6 and 1 and we put minus 6 plus 1, that equals to minus 5. But also if you times them together, it equals to minus 6. So here we go, we got our two numbers, which will be minus 6 and 1. So what do you do with them next? Well, I'm gonna come back to the original equation now, and what you need to do is the b part of the equation, so in this case it's minus 5, we're gonna replace that with these two numbers that we found out, the n1 and n2. So it becomes x squared minus 6x plus 1x and minus 6. Okay, so it's the same equation, just kind of expanded. And now all you need to do is pair up the first two and the last two. Keep in mind that it doesn't actually matter if you put minus 6x plus x first or the other way around. So the first bracket in our case will have common factor x, so I took the x out, and then in brackets is x minus 6. And the second bracket doesn't have any common factor, so we will just write it as a bracket by itself. Now, as you can see, the x minus 6 is our common factor. So we will take that out of the bracket again. And what's going to be left? Well, if you divide the first part by the bracket, you will be only left with x. And then the second part, if you divide by bracket, you're just left with 1. So it becomes plus 1. Okay, we don't usually write square brackets, I just wrote that to distinguish what we're factorizing, so I'm just rewriting it the same with the round brackets. And here we go, we factorized the quadratic expression. Our next example is going to be a little bit more complicated quadratic equation, because no one likes quadratic equations when a is more than 1. So our example is 6x squared minus 11x minus 10. So I'm going to use the same method. So first of all, we need to find our AC, and AC will be minus 10 times 6, which is minus 60. Okay, and our B is minus 11. So minus 60 is the same as our two numbers times together, and the minus 11 is the part where they add up together. So I'm gonna look at the factors of 60. Even though it's a bigger number and it has more factors, it does not make a question more complicated. It's the same idea. So the factors are 60 and 1, 30 and 2, 20 and 3, and then 15 and 4. Okay, it has more factors, but I'm just gonna look at those. And the only way you can add the numbers together to make minus 11 is by choosing the last option. There is no way you can add 60 and 1 or 30 and 2 or 20 and 3 to make 11. Okay, it's only the combination of 15 and 4. And also keep in mind that they need to times together to give you minus 60, so one of them has to be negative. And to get minus 11, 15 will have to be negative. So this is our n1 and n2, and you can just double check that it's all correct. So we're going to replace minus 11x in the equation with minus 15 and plus 4. So we'll get 6x squared minus 11x minus 10, and it will become 6x squared minus 15x plus 4x and minus 10. Again, it doesn't matter if I wrote 4x before 15x, it will still factorize into the same form. So we're gonna look at the first two numbers and then the second two numbers. The first two numbers, they have a common number and x, so it's 3x, and then inside the bracket we get 2x, and then the second part becomes minus 5. Okay, and now we look at the other two numbers. Actually, this time they do have a factor, which is 2, and inside the bracket you will get 2x and minus 5. Okay, so again, it's the same. You can see there is the same bracket. We have 2x minus 5, so this is our factor. So we're gonna take it out of bigger bracket that we're imagining, so it's 2x minus 5, and then the second bracket will be left with 3x if we divided the expression by 2x minus 5 and 2. So our final answer is 2x minus 5 in one bracket, and the second bracket becomes 3x plus 2. Thank you for watching. Give us a like if you enjoyed our video, subscribe and comment below if you have any more questions.